has been displayed for us, and I wish that they continue to display the program on the screen there. And I would like to make it clear that the sitting will be captured, will be live, so the public must not interpret it as if it's a place or in a dining room. Because at least if you put your foot under the table, better. Honorable Chairman, can you just take a seat, please? Mr. Chairman, very soon you'll be honorable. Okay, colleagues, starting our meeting, as I said before, we have opened on item number 1. I thought they would display it on the screen there so that we can all follow for those who might have not been sent this to them, which is open and welcome. And then I'm giving the open apologies before. Then we're having confirmation of the agenda. The open apologies, Mr. Chairman. Do you have anything from your side before I take it from the honorables?
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson, and good morning, honorable members, MEC, officials from the department, my colleagues. The apologies that I got one from, there is an apology from Honorable Member Gagare Rapali. She has got family commitments. Honorable Member Majomani, she has an appointment with a medical practitioner, and she will join us as we continue. Honorable Member Mabuza has got political responsibility somewhere in Waterberg. So those are the only apologies that I got. Safe to say that we, in terms of the procedural arrangements, we do need the quorum. The meeting needs the quorum. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Honorable MEC.
Thank you, Honorable Chair and honorable members. We'd like to convey the apologies. The HOD, Mr. Pratt, he has a doctor's appointment today, but in his place we have the acting HOD still beside. And we also have the teaching Mr. Mobeni, who is attending the infrastructure technical cluster meeting, and she is being represented by Ms. Masukwamen here, and then the DDG Corporate Services, Ms. Leila Ibrahim, is out of the country, and she's being represented by Mr. Machebe here. So these are the only apologies we have from our side.
Thank you very much. Can we go to item number 3, confirmation of the agenda, honorable members? Thank you very much, honorable Kaba. Can we go straight to business of the day, item number 4, 4.1. Consideration of the tracking tool on implementation of resolutions in the House. Honorable MEC.
I'm just trying to consult here. They are not in the package.
Okay. Understand. Mr. Tamaha, again, that one. Is there any problem with your laptop this time? We've been requesting agenda to be displayed on the screen, but it seems we're not winning. Any technical problem?
No, Chair, I didn't receive the agenda.
Right.
I'll go to my week, not very anymore. Hey,
So you can board. So next time we must do this a day before or in the morning and make sure that the systems are working.
Mama, you think you got some stuff. Don't we had a whole meeting doing
Again, now they are panicking, that's why they can't get the reps.
Okay.
And maybe we allow Mr. Tamaha to take us through slowly while he's still busy trying to connect. Can we? Where do you? Mr. Tamaha, take us through.
Once more, thank you, Honorable Chairperson, Honorable Members, MEC, and officials. I have my colleagues here. Now, what I'm going to present here, it's a resolution tracking. Now, these resolutions emanate from the legacy report that was presented to the committee in August last year. I think it was on the 16th. Yeah, it was on the 16th of August. The first meeting of the committee, which happened on the 16th of August, and so it was a sort of a handover report from the previous committee. So number of resolutions were taken by this committee, and as a result, I had to escalate those resolutions to the department for feedback, and indeed the department responded accordingly in line with those resolutions. So, as you all know, that the Treasury department deals with transversal responsibility. So, what's happening here is that these resolutions cut across all the departments, and even including other spheres of the local government, which is the sphere of government. Now, largely, what is happening is that the intergovernment, the section chapter 3 of the cooperative governance, which recognizes that we've got 3 spheres of government, which is national, provincial, and local. But then the chapter 3 further states that these spheres of government, they are interdependent, distinctive, and interrelated. So the question of the issue of federalism does not even arise in this regard. So what is happening is that the Department of Treasury has got the responsibility to the provincial departments, and together with the provincial entities, inclusive of the local government. So this is supported by the Intergovernmental Relations Framework Act that says that all the spheres of government must work together for common purpose, that is of service delivery. However, sometimes there appears to be some sort of pushback, especially from local government, to say that no, we are a one sphere of government, so sort of autonomy it is raised when the department, for example, say no, we can't. You are now encroaching in our responsibilities, which is not true. So the Department of Provincial Treasury has got the responsibility to monitor even the local government in how the local government spends money. So sometimes even the literature on good governance and oversight committees talks to an extent to which local government sort of push back on the provincial government when the provincial government monitors the spending patterns in the municipalities. So that is why this report talks about spending in the provincial departments, state-owned entities, and also in the local government. Now, I'm not going to deal with the entire report, but just touch few areas that I think needs attention of the committee and also the department. There was an issue on the VBS to say that the committee resolved that the VBS report must be concluded, and then after it will have been concluded, so closure report must be submitted to the committee. So we are expecting the department, perhaps when will be, giving the reporting on the first quarter, to indulge the committee on how far is the department in terms of preparing the closure report of the VBS. Because the understanding is that the department now is seized with the law enforcement agencies, and the report is now seized with the law enforcement agencies, and therefore the department can't do much in terms of that report. So, however, the department will prepare a closure report and update the committee as to how far the department went in terms of doing investigations on the VBS. Now, so in the next quarter, as I've indicated, we do expect the department to give us a feedback the BBS. But also there was an issue on Great North Transport. According the Great North Transport, there is, I think, somewhere around 200 million that was allocated to the Great North Transport for this financial year for the purposes of procuring new fleet of buses to replace the aging one. So we will expect a report to that effect in terms of how far the Great North Transport is in terms of procuring a fleet of buses. Again, there is an issue of GAL as well as one of the provincial entities. The issues that were raised there is that there is an instrument or a software that is supposed to be procured so that there can be effectiveness in terms of running that particular airport, so that there can be communication of in terms of how, when the flights are landing and when they takes off. So we do expect the report to that effect in the when there is the department will be reporting on the first quarter, so that just to get a feedback in terms of how far GAL is in terms of procuring that technological instrument. Another aspect is on the relocation of regional offices for Sekhukhune district. So the HOD indicated during that meeting that there was a technical team that was dealing with that particular aspect in terms of designing the offices and the stuff like that. So we will also expect the report to that effect in terms of how far the processes are in terms of relocating the district offices to Sekhukhune. Also, there was a resolution around refurbishment of the legislature offices in the Wahom, because the decision was taken that it is not feasible to relocate the offices from the Wahom to Polokwane, because the process is going to be too expensive. So the committee in its wisdom resolved that the offices should remain in the Wahom, and however there should be refurbishment. So the refurbishment of those offices and the entire precinct. So we'll expect a report to that effect in terms of how far the processes are. I'm made to understand that there is a process in motion to declare that precinct as a national key point, and apparently there is a meeting either today or tomorrow to fast track that process. So also, because that one is one area that we might not be entered that, because it deals too much with the security aspect, so we might not be we can only be informed when the process is completed, that one of declaring the precinct a national key point. So, however, what we expect as a committee is the allocations, financial allocations in terms of how the refurbishment is going to take shape. So, in a nutshell, Chairperson, I think those are issues that I think I should bring to the attention of the committee and the department. But over and above that, majority of those resolutions, they are ongoing. So as and when a need arises, so we can be able to pick them up and then check with the department in terms of how far the department is in terms of implementing those resolutions. Thanks for your indulgence, comrade. Chairperson.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. Honourable members, I covered the file.
Yeah.
On the resolution taken. Thank you very much. I can now take it back to the MEC to continue.
Thank you, Honourable Chair and Honourable members. As I said earlier, I will be assisted by my team here, led by the acting HOD, Mr. Isa, to come in at your indulgence to present the 2025-26 annual performance plan. As is always known that it is developed in line with the revised framework for strategic plans and annual performance plan issued centrally by the Department of Planning and Monitoring and Evaluation. I must hint that the budget part, while it is well known, it should be noted that it will obviously be affected by what has gone on. And I've always mentioned that our budget system is based on the centralized nature of our government. Since the minister is going to be retabling the budget, it shall apply mutatis mutandis. And as a result, it is likely we do not know so far to what extent will the revised budget affect the appropriation made by us, save for the fact that we are aware that when we receive our allocation letters, then 0.5, the 2% was not yet there. It is our hope that it may not be adversely affected. However, since the revenue stream will be constrained and a projection has been made, we do not know whether in the re-submission of the budget, we have not yet finalized the consultations, to what extent that will apply to provinces and then to departments. So we'll take it as it is, and should there be circumstances, of course, you will be advised. Already the Speaker of National Parliament has written to, or rather the Secretary of Parliament has already written to the Secretaries of Legislatures advising them, and that on the 21st of May, the budget will be retabled. And as the law says, within 14 days, therefore, provinces shall have retabled theirs. So this is, by the way, it's not what I have to present, but I do not want to forget the budget part of the APP will just be as it is, and should there be circumstances which so far projections are very designed, it is unlikely, then that will be determined by what the minister will then take. With these few words, may I request that the acting HOD take the committee through on the two aspects, starting with the annual performance plan and budget, and then thereafter deal with the second and third quarter's performance report. If you so allow, may I defer to you.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson and honorable members, honorable MSc and colleagues. I will take the committee through the presentations we have made in terms of the annual budget and the annual performance plan. They work interchangeably because we show the program and the budget, that is the resources that will assist us to implement the indicators that we have set for ourselves to implement as a province or as Treasury. But maybe in terms of the introduction, the NEC has already given the highlight of what the APP is all about. I will go straight in terms of the page for introduction so that we just share with the honorable members what are the key priorities for Provincial Treasury as a Vote 5. Where we are saying in terms of the APP, is it the APP? Yeah. I think it's slide number, so that I don't lose the team. Let's go to the next page, that one there, yeah, that's one. The next page is talking to the priorities that we have set as a department that we will want to achieve at the organizational level, where we are saying our organization must ensure that there is an enhanced financial management, and also we must build institutional capacity to make sure that as we support those other spheres of government, we are also capacitated as an organization to fulfill that mandate, because our key function is in terms of trade, where we are supporting all provincial departments and public entities and municipalities, making sure that there is effective governance and effective financial management in those departments. Our plan in terms of Program 1, we have explained what is it all about. I think what we are saying is that Program 1 is managing and monitoring all the corporate services functions within the organization, while Program 2, Sustainable Resource Management, is to provide support and resources to the provincial departments and entities within the government. And Program 3 focuses mainly in terms of the assets, liabilities and supply chain management, supporting and monitoring for the provincial departments as well as entities. And Program 4, which is our financial governance, is there to promote accountability and compliance with financial norms and standards as required by the legislation. And lastly, we have shared services, shared internal audit services, where we provide internal audit services for the entire province. I must say to the honorable members that in terms of our targets, like the current APP that we have just implemented for 2024-25, we had 25 targets. And now in the 2025-26 financial year, we have upscaled our targets to 29, where we have increased to make sure that we make an impact as a Treasury, and I will elaborate on those. In terms of Program 1, which is our corporate support, we have those various programs that are outlined there. For the sake of time, I won't take them line by line. I assume they are very clear and straightforward. But I think what is important is that we can see that we are looking at making sure that the national key indicators that are required, where we must pay our service providers within 30 days, we want to adhere to the 100% as a province. But also what is crucial for the province is to make sure that the Public Procurement Act is implemented and assist us to make sure that percentage of procurement for goods and services awarded to women-owned enterprise in the province is sitting at 70% across the board. But we are promising that in the current financial year, we also want to reduce our vacancy rate to be at 10% across the organization. And for us to implement those areas in Program 1, for the 2025-26, we are allocated a budget of 220 million, which is it's an increase of 6% from what we had in the last financial year, which was sitting at 207 million as a branch. And that the second page is just showing in terms of economic classification how much are we spending on compensation of employees, on transfers and subsidies, and also in terms of payments for capital assets. I must say to honorable members, this program is where maybe it's having the budget, the biggest budget in the department, because we have our lease commitments, our security services, all contractual obligations that we need to do as a department are being funded from program 1. As a result, don't be surprised when you see the budget for this program being bigger than other departments or other programs within the department. And we are just simply saying, in terms of that, as we will be funding those fees of office building and audit fees and telephones to manage all these other elements. In terms of CAPEX budget, we will be catering for the procurement of tools of trade, which are laptops, because we know that when we hire new people, we must bring them tools of trade to ensure that they function within the department. Program 2, which is talking about the sustainable resource, this is the program where it looks with the entire budget for the entire province. We are intending to make sure that we finalize the research documents. We have planned to have 7 in the current financial year, which will assist us to formulate the better budget for the province. But also what is important is that in terms of revenue assessment, we need to make those assessments between 4 to make sure that our targets or we are being realistic in the revenue that we intend to collect as a province. But I think what is very important is that we will continue to support the departments in making the infrastructure assessment, because we know that infrastructure is the key for the province. So we are planning to have 108 assessments that we will be doing for the infrastructure departments that are having the budget to deal with that. And most important is that we will also continue to do financial management and governance assessment in our municipalities to make sure that there is proper governance and we have reports to that. So we are planning to have those as targeted and quarterly. That's how we will be achieving those targets set for ourselves. The budget in terms of this program is only sitting at 93 million, which has seen an increase by 13% from last year, where they were sitting only 80 million, and now they are sitting at 93 million as a program to make sure that they achieve the indicators as stated above. And the next page is talking to the economic classification, how much we are spending on compensation of employees in that unit to make sure that we are able to do that support that they are planning to do. Members will see that the bigger chunk in the capital program is sitting in the current payments, which is your goods and services and your compensation of employees, because that is basically the support that they are playing as a unit. Program 3 talks to the support that we are giving to the department in terms of asset management, liabilities and supply chain across the province. And what we are saying is that we are having a total of 16 entities when we take the departments and the public entities we are having in the province. And on a quarterly basis, there must be 16 reports that talks to the assessment in terms of compliance that is taken in those departments in relation to asset management, supply chain management, and liabilities that and here in terms of liabilities, we are referring to all kinds of liabilities, whether it's debtors, contingent liabilities, and so on. But we are also doing assessment on how the department are faring in terms of making sure that the Limpopo procurement strategy is being implemented to the latter, so that we can achieve the target we have set for the designated groups that we want to achieve in the province. So in total, they will have 64 reports for each indicator that we will be functioning. The budget in this unit has increased only by 14% from 49 million to 58 million in the current financial year to make sure that they are able to perform that function. And we can see that the biggest increase that has happened in this portfolio is in relation to goods and services that will make sure that the unit is able to support all the institutions across the province as they travel to make sure that they are compliant in terms of all the areas we have mentioned. The next program is Program 4, which is our financial governance unit. In terms of the financial governance unit, that's where we deal with the transversal systems that make sure that the provincial PERS is being managed properly, making sure that we pay people and service providers on time. But we also do assessment of the financial statement for all the entities and the departments in the province, so that we assist them in making sure that we improve the governance in the province to attain better financial outcome from the AG. But this is also the program that is managing all the audit committees of the province to make sure that there is proper governance across all departments, and we pay the audit fees, and we also monitor how the audit committees must sit in the province. But we are also making sure that we conduct assessment on the profile risk, the provincial risk profile, so that we are able to know what are the risks that will make sure that we look at the profile risk that will affect the achievement of the objectives that are set by provincial government in terms of achieving the outcome, and come up with mitigation measures that must assist us to manage those risks. So this is the unit that assists us, and they have set the targets in terms of those areas that we will be doing those assessment and making sure that we assist the province to have better governance, and those are the annual targets we have set for ourselves to achieve as Treasury. I must say the budget in this unit has only increased from 81 million. It has decreased in this case from 81 million to 81.3 to 81.1 million. I must say the decrease is as a result of the negotiations that we have entered with CETA to make sure that they give us the better rates in terms of the services that they are providing to us as government. So it's a process that we are engaging with them so that we can save the cost for the provincial government in terms of engaging with CETA, even though in some other areas they are not doing the best to us support all the government departments. The next page will be talking how the money will be used in the economic classification. As I said, it will be mostly in goods and services, and for the payment of salaries for the people that must assist us to perform those functions and to monitor those committees that we have. The last committee that we have, is internal audit services, that is assisting us to make sure that we deal with the internal audit matters. As a province, they will have their findings that are being done for all the government departments, and we need to respond to. And also what they are doing is that they have done what they call combined assurance that they will be planning to do for the province, to make sure that all of us we can speak one language in terms of providing the support that we need here for the province. And they have set the targets as indicated on those tables, and as we will be achieving them on a quarterly basis. But you can see what is important is that they have made sure that the internal audits are finalized and communicated to all the departments. They will want to achieve that 100% across the board. And in this unit, the budget has increased from 58 by 3%, 58.4 to 60 million, just to make sure that they are able to render the services as required by the legislation. And lastly, Chair, if I were to summarize the budget presentation, because I've spoken to it, the budget presentation that will be coming as the next one, I'll only talk to the total budget of the province because I've given the split unit, but in terms of the next presentation that we can flag is the budget presentation that I need to talk to one page so that the members can see the aggregate or the consolidation of the whole budget that I was talking about. If we go to the next presentation, the budget one, let's go to the slide that talks to the summary of resource allocation. I think slide number 5. Let's go to slide number 5. Yes. In terms of slide number 5, Chairperson, you can see that I've spoken to all those administration 220, program 2, sustainable resource 93 million, assets and liabilities 58 million, and financial governance 81 million, and then shared internal audit 60 million. Our total budget goes to 512 million as treasury that we must spend in the current financial year, which has increased by from 478 million we had in the last financial year to 512 as said. Chair, you will realize, as I said, that administration is taking 43% of the total budget, while sustainable resource is only taking 18%, and financial governance is taking 16%, internal audit services 12%, and assets and liabilities is only taking 11% of the budget in totality. And in summary, Chair, the last page will talk to the economic classification in terms of that out of that 512, 370 will go to compensation of employees and 132 will go to goods and services, while the transfers to municipalities and to departmental agencies is 626 and 725. And we only have machinery equipment where we have budgeted 7 million that we will spend as a department. And Chair, I think in short that those are the two programs that the presentation that we talked to in terms of the budget and the APP alignment. With the permission, Chair, must I also finalize the quarterly report so that we can take the question? In terms of the quarter 2 report performance, Chair, I must just go straight to the report in terms of what we have set to achieve. That we have set to achieve as a department and how we have performed. I think slide number 6 is the true reflection of what we have set to achieve in terms of the departmental targets. We had 20 targets in total, which are split over the various programs that we have. We have managed to achieve only 19 out of the 20, and we have only one that we did not achieve, what we are saying partially achieved. We are saying partially achieved, Chairperson, because in terms of the assessment of the financial statement, departments are submitting financial statement to Program 4 to be assessed on quarterly basis. So in quarter 2, we had some few entities that did not submit their financial statement for assessment, and that's the reason why we are having that partial achievement, but all government departments have managed to achieve that target that we have set for themselves. So the other slides, Chairperson, there is just the pictures that shows how we have performed as a department, and I think what is crucial is to take the committee members to the slide number 10, where we had some overachievements that we are reporting to in terms of the quota under consideration, in terms of the percentage for women procurement spend. We have budgeted 40%, but we're sitting at 48% at the end of the quarter, which says that we have achieved 88% in that quarter. And in terms of financial governance, we prepared to have 22 training for BAS and logis as the transversal system for the province, but due to the request from other departments, we ended up having 26 training that we have performed during the quarter, and that has made us to have more overachieved than what we have set to achieve in that quarter. And in line with quarter 3 share, which is the last presentation, I'll just go straight to the performance in quarter 3 in terms of the indicators we have set for ourselves. We have set ourselves to achieve the 20 targets, and we have achieved all the targets that we have set for ourselves as the department for the 3rd quarter. And in terms of the overachievement share, in this case, the same areas that we had in the quarter 2 where we have overachieved for women and for the system, is still the same areas where we have overachieved also in the 3rd quarter against the target that we have set ourselves. I must say to the committee, honorable members, that we have since revised these targets in the current financial year from 72 in terms of the training to 80, and in terms of women we have revised them from 40% to 70% to make sure that there is alignment with the Limpopo procurement strategy, so that we don't have to report the overachievement in those cases. So we believe that improved planning and making sure that we get the request. I must say the training on logis and BAS is also influenced by the recruitment of new people that are coming into the system, because as they come into the system, then there is a need to train them so that they are able to use the system in an efficient and proper manner. Honorable members. In summary, that's the presentation that we have been requested to present as Treasury, and submitting the reports for the committee to note and have discussion on them. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable MEC. I'm not sure if you still have any additions so that I can hand over to Honorable members.
We don't have any further, we have that.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the presentation. Honorable Honorables, this was the report from Treasury, so I start engaging. I think you're not here anymore.
Yeah, fine, I did see.
Okay.
My apologies, Honourable Chair.
No problem. I'll start with
Honourable, oh, sorry, you can start. That's fine.
No, you must start.
Okay, you must start. That's fine.
I don't mind being last. Thank you. Honourable and MEC, I just want to go to one point of your budget speech when you spoke about the local procurement, the public procurement, and I do recall the percentage being quite low in that enhancement. If I recall it, it was quote unquote, if I might be wrong, it was 37%, but it was somewhere high up in the 30% of local procurement, and I might be wrong, but it wasn't above 50%. And I just would like to understand from your office point of view, Honourable MEC, what are we doing as Treasury to maybe up that percentage in the point of the province? I'll just get to the other presentation now. to the second point.
Chair, can you proceed?
Yes, you can proceed. That's about it. Back to Spencer.
Chair, I do have three questions, but first I must welcome the presentation. In fact, Chair, this is one department that in my view is well run, highly organized, so I'm able to follow everything that they do. The first question will be, of course, emanating from the tracking resolution tracking. There is an issue there about the movement of offices from the work home to school. And that, in my view, speaks to services going closer to the people. And I don't think that the response that says there is no resources is sufficient. If that response do not go beyond that to say these are the plans in place to ensure that that happens, because in my view that must happen. And the unavailability of resources without any plan, for me, is a failure in terms of the capacity of the state to respond to the needs of the people. That would be the first question in relation to the resolutions. I'm now going straight to the annual performance plan. And I think the NEC preambly did make a disclaimer that technically we do not have a budget. That the budget that was presented and the comments that Somali is making in relation to that budget, there is no budget. Perhaps the MEC, just to pick your mind there, what does that mean? Where does it put us as a force in terms of the work that the government must be doing to do? Then there is an issue relating to the target, the number of municipalities that must be visited in terms of budget assessments. And I do want to leave that with, I think it's program 4, item 5. Also that speaks to the assessments that must be conducted in financial systems utilization. With regard to the municipalities share, I just want to single out one municipality. In agreeing with this target to say it can be able to help us to get things right at that level in terms of the financial discipline. You would recall that Mukhalabana municipality was flagged by the Auditor General in terms of its annual financial statements and the utilization, if you like, of consultants. They use a lot of money, but the dividends they don't like. They use millions of rands, but you still have challenges insofar as their annual financial statements are concerned. How much will these visits or assessments by the department help to improve the situation? There is a Department of Agriculture. I'm just picking one just to amplify my view or my point. There is a program in Nguni loans. That program is very progressive, by the way. And in its genesis, it was managed by the University of Limpopo, IDT, and the department itself providing technical support. And it was to loan those loans to farmers for a certain period. But there's an issue there. What is a loan? The department also admitted its incapacity to recover those loans. Because they say we did not register as a funder or what, and therefore they can't enforce what is in their contracts. That when you fail to bring those things back, this is what we'll do. But they do admit that they are unable to enforce it. So the issue I'm raising there, because there's financial implication in that. Because those monies did not adapt, they did not mushroom. They were bought, so they are financial. And the department is helpless. You can go and zoom into that space, you realize that the department seems not to be doing much about what to do. I'm then saying, how much will the Department of Treasury assist in terms of meeting this? Because it was going to help the subsistence farmers perhaps to gradually get into the commercial farming. The last point, Chair, it's on the second quarter. Just two issues there. One, relating to the entities which did not submit their financial statements for assessment. The first question would be which entities are those, and why didn't they submit? Because you shouldn't be worried if you still have entities that do not take that aspect of their responsibilities. Thanks, Chair.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. Greetings also to you and our colleague. Also to extend this greeting to the Honorable MEC and his entourage.
Power record.
Okay. I was surprised that the machines are next to me. Oh, yeah. And greetings to the Honorable MEC and your own entourage. MEC, one thing that I've noted in the absence of the HOD is the fact that the department, it seems to have got more capacity in terms of running the financial affairs of the old provincial government. I'm saying this because the acting HOD, she was very much eloquent in terms of presentation. I know she's not alone. Women in this department of Treasury have demonstrated their ability to execute the task diligently. Ever since my experience in this committee, Honorable Chairperson, women in this department are doing best. And when I want to just appreciate that MEC, that when they are presenting, you can hear that these people, they know their story in actual fact. And I just want to thank you, acting HOD. But I think there are some questions that I've just prepared ever since last night, so that perhaps I can ask the department so that you can provide clarity in that regard. This political question arises as follows: to check with the department as to why do we continue as a department to appropriate millions to department or entities, especially those entities with consistent poor performance, regular expenditure, fruitless expenditure, especially without consequence management. Because this department at some point they are not performing and we know that they are committing irregular expenditure, and as a result, there is no consequence management, but we continue to appropriate billions of rands to them, even when they are under in actual fact performing. Because in some of the previous meetings, I did indicate that I've got a serious problem with those departments that are underspending, and as a result, no consequence management, which has been done in such department. So I want to understand why we continue to appropriate these millions, especially with no consequence management. Or perhaps we should start asking a question as to why do we in actual fact link, it's the same question that I've asked, why do we have to link this budget allocation, especially to this department that are not performing? Because the question might arise again as to, if we are to link this budget without consequence management, are we budgeting this or appropriating this budget for service delivery or maintaining the inefficient system of patronage networks? Because it's critical that when we appropriate budget, we must link it to service delivery, and that's my understanding. Because there is no any justification, especially in the allocation of money or budget to the department which are failing to deliver service to our people. And that's where, in actual fact, I've got a serious problem to this kind of the department. I've seen Department of Economic Development, especially with entities like VDET and others. This department, they've never shown any measurable return on investment or even on job creation. And it appears that treasurer does not in actual fact come up with mechanism to assist those entities to create jobs, but also to ensure that there is a serious investment in our program. But we continue to allocate them funds, which to me it's a problem, because it cannot from time and again that this department we just allocate them for the sake of allocating, especially looking at the debt and that one of buses we call the GNT. But there is nothing in return that they are assisting this province for the economy to be viable. But yet, from time to time, we do assist them in making sure that they've got enough money. The last question, which I will want to ask, is how does the department hold this? How does this department hold the whole provincial department or the whole provincial government accountable, especially when they are failing to meet the service delivery output, despite all the budget that you from time to time give them? Yeah, I think I will just pause there.
Thank you. Honorable Mato.
Thanks, Chair, and greetings to the MSC and the entire collective team of the department. I can't say much because colleagues have covered me on issues that I thought are critical. But also sending our message in terms of the kind of professionalism that is probably other departments will do the same. I don't know what is the problem with this other department. When they come to make presentation, it's only when they go to scope of architectural with the treasury, even when we go to portfolio committee, the report still it has got that sense, you know, of being a report, and we really appreciate. But one issue that I think is of importance and of critical importance to me is in terms of your assessment to municipalities and the kind of hands-on deck responsibilities that you need to do in terms of the law. Because it's not a favor for you to make sure that you are able to help municipalities and also to oversee municipalities. Because municipalities think that they are independent from the intergovernmental relation framework, but also in terms of social regulations, there are somewhere where the treasury is responsible directly to guide and help municipalities. Because you can't have in 30 years of democracy municipalities that are still working on what dealing with consultants just to draft your annual financial statement. Whereas they've got people who have got masters and honors degrees in those institutions. Can't you do whatever to move our treasury or such a one? Or do whatever the children and whatever currently bogus degrees, you know, it can't be. If you can help people with, you know, municipalities, chair, they're highly, is a level where they're highly paid. It's a still government where you highly pay your employees. But you can't attract these employees from the department, from Treasury to go and help there on permanent basis, because when they have there, you remote control them in a manner that they can't even do their work. Because they are clerks there. And we are told by these laws, and tell you things that you also know as a professional, you can't do them. It can't be said that after these 30 years of democracy, we still have good municipalities that use consultants. It can't be. It can't be. And it's an issue that I think Treasury should help out to say how best can we deal with this issue. In some instances, other posts within municipality in terms of the Municipal Structures Act, other posts are permanent now, and we believe that people will be able to work there on a permanent basis and do the best of their capacity, because others were doing quick savings because they thought it's 5 years they are going. They were trying to hammer. But now they are permanent. What is the problem? I just wanted that on deck assistance from Treasury, including the collaboration with COPSA, because well, worried is only at the end, till end, you find that this municipality has not been performing. Where was Treasury? Where was COPSA? And if there are politics, we must know what are these politics, because it can't be well governed. The other issues in relation to the sum of work of Skukuni, relocating offices. I mean, that thing is just like that sum of abattoir. It's becoming an abattoir sum. You know, this progress from the fourth administration have been talking about the work home abattoir. Every year you pump money there, or you allow departments to pump money. But we don't see the value for that money. It can't be that we speak of relocation of offices on a daily basis, and there is nothing tangible, unless ministerial team that was established by the then Premier and the present Premier can be able to tell us what are the bottlenecks and where should we unlock these bottlenecks. Because we could also want to develop as a town. When you arrive with that office of yours, the only first will be food, there won't be any land. And it will be, even streets and other roads, it will be travel just to create a road. don't understand why government will take so much time. You know, Honorable Chair, I've observed in one farm, ZZ2 will build a line of water line of almost 10, 15 kilometers within a month inside the farm. But we have to build that line, it can take 3 years or 4 years. It's the same with what I'm asking. The other issue, Chair, is in relation to, I think it's high time that we deal with the issue of, what do you call that decision that was taken by the previous administration? I think the second or the third administration in terms of relocation of offices from Luwakomu to here in town. And you know, you remember we spent a lot of money. People don't know that,
As the legislature.
of the legislature. People don't know that we spend a lot of money to pay for consultants for,
25 million.
yeah, some millions that we have spent, a lot. And I don't know, Chair, that we should agree that we must rescind that decision. Because if it's still a decision of the House, and if it's not rescinded, it means anybody can come and say, let's pump money to that thing. That thing it will never happen if you don't want to make it happen. 10 years back or 20 years back, for you to relocate those offices to here, Somalia, I think it needed around 3 to 4 billion. Now I think it can take us more.
Yeah.
And with the kind of economy that we are having as a country, I don't think that is a pipe dream, it will never happen. I don't know what is going to happen with that land and other things. We'll see whether Honorable Bukawa, that land is there or what. We'll see what to do with that land and donate it somewhere, either to the academic hospital and other things. But that decision will not happen. You are just waiting to maintain this building when we hold these meetings. What about building a state-of-the-art? We must just stick to that work and make sure that we save money. Other meetings will call them here because I don't think, Chair, cost of us traveling to work and cost of building that thing here, even in 100 years' time, it will ever match the cost of building it. We can travel to work home for the coming 50 years, but that cost will never match the cost of building it in Europa. It's a pipe dream, that thing, because we should have done it long time ago in phases. Now we just think that the money is something that we get comes carrying. The people of Treasury will tell you, we'll never achieve that. It's not achievable. Therefore, I was pushing, Chair, that through the NEC, I don't know who's decision of that, we should rescind that decision. We must kill it and it dies a natural death because it will never happen. You can't continue on pushing something that, because that decision is there, Chair, in terms of the statutes, the orders of the House. Therefore, I was pushing that Treasury, or I don't know whose responsibility it is, that we must take it to the House and rescind that decision. And we live with our work of in peace. We develop it, we make sure that we cut it into piece and make it running that thing of state of, what do you call it? The precinct. Yeah, so that we are able to say we'll live with it because we're already spending a lot of money revamping it. If you want to revamp it and develop it into a university is another thing, you can build another one. But I don't think that's what we'll do it as a province with the little money that we have and the much responsibility that we must do as a province. Those are the issues that, but I think on other issues that relates to the performance report, we give credit where it's due and we really appreciate the good work that is done in Treasury. And we believe, Honorable MEC, that we'll maintain the standard and increase on the viability of the provincial government to emulate a lot from what is happening in Treasury. And I hope MEC that in future when there are problems in municipalities, let's take people from Treasury mostly to go and help. Because we are picking up people from other departments and they go there and mess up more, worse. What they are going there for is to loot tenders and other things. They don't want to develop municipalities to become state of. We have got experience of what these people that we are setting to municipalities what they do there. It's not in the best interest of government and clean governance. And I think it's an issue that we are raising in Chair. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Margaret, maybe just take you back. On the issue of the Wahomo precinct, I think the committee last time we submitted that it must be reversed as you are proposing. And I think it has been tabled in the House as well.
Okay.
The only thing that we agreed to maintain is the building of Skukun offices. That's when we said that one must continue. But the issue of having the building here, Parliament here, no. We said it's not viable, given the same reasons you are saying, given the financial masses that we are having, we can't afford. So it should be, I think the presentation in the tracking of resolutions might have been very easy to understand that it's been part of that. Honorable Smiley.
Thank you, Chairperson. I would just ask the MEC, in our previous discussion at this level, there were certain municipalities that didn't submit their Section 71 and 52 reports in that status. There were some people that were reluctant to put it on file. What are the current status to the, if there are any with none, the people that didn't comply? And if there were any of those offenders, what were the action by Treasury? We are approaching the last phase of municipalities' budgets. Submitting it to Treasury. I'm sure that you hopefully have a oversight over some of those, let's call it draft budgets, and not to go into too much detail, but are all municipalities on time with that budget scheduling on that? And have you done any input from your side, Honourable MEC, maybe to make sure that the budgets are funded in their operations? We sometimes see it in the budgets replies that many of the municipalities has got unfunded budgets. So I'm just trying to understand, are you stepping into that space as Treasury to mitigate against that? We saw that you did an assessment on various departments and public entities on their asset management, cash management and supply chain management. And are there any areas of concerns on provincial government departments that we should take note of, that there's a problem? If we look at the departments. B, are there any concerns that we should take note of from public entities' point of view, SOEs? And I will say this, because if we look at the status of GMT, and although that the budget is not officially working yet, it's let's call it the living document, because there are certain hooks that we must get through. But there are certain very big creditors in that space that needs to be paid. We're looking at the medical aids that have not been paid. I know that employers were notified that their medical aids have now lapsed. But it talks to your assessment in that space. So I'm trying now to say to you, okay, entity one, your assessment said something to the contrary bad, and what is your next step into that space where you found as Treasury it's not suitable from a financial point of view? What are you doing in that space currently? I don't want to give answers, but that is your role as Treasury. I just wanted to understand that space. And if there are any problems or concerns in any entities or departments, Honourable Chair, I would ask the Treasury at some point maybe gives us some sort of a report in that case on how they're dealing with it. Maybe they've put some plans into place to mitigate against it. in that, so I would want to ask that. And the provincial legislature took a resolution, and I think it stems out from SCOPA and from the debt portfolio, that our Schedule 2B companies should be self-reliant
Yes.
in that space. Without going into too much detail, your oversight onto that financial model and your guidance into that financial model, how's it playing out? Are you intervening? Are you putting proposals on the table? Are your proposals being accepted? You know, maybe not, maybe yes. But because that is, I want to leave the strong discussion for that relevant portfolio, but your role as Provincial Treasury and into that space, Honourable MEC. And I see that you did some, let's call it oversight visits on certain MIG projects, only, let's call it 37 in total. It's not a very big sample. But what was your sample assessment there? Was it that procurement management, or not? Was it that project management is happening? Did you find out any concerns there? Because it's one thing to say that we've done it, but it's nice to hear that, you know, people are doing what they're supposed to be doing. There are no concerns. But for the municipality or the Department X, there is a problem. And I'm asking this because there are certain departments that are pushing for, let's call it, in-house infrastructure building. They want to take control of it. And your type of answer will either later on allow me to support such a proposal or not support such a proposal. Thank you.
You will come to the Honourable Smile. Honourable Speaker.
I want to be the last person. I think most of the things the honourable members have just said, because I can just say a few that and because I was only noting the loopholes starting with the 2025-2026 annual performance plan, of which is the funding failing stage entities that we've already touched. And the spending, I think the members has also touched, I'm not sure, but there's a key department like education and health that have retained hundreds of millions to national treasury due to poor spending. These are the loopholes, those are not the questions, still the loopholes. And then lack of municipality infrastructure oversight, where I discovered that the municipality under Costa often mismanaging infrastructure funds, leading to crumbling services, with little intervention or the accountability. And lack of local government, I want to just talk about it. On governance and corruption risk, there are concerns about funding being misused for political patronage or electioneering, especially ahead of national and the provincial election. So with that, for the 2024-25-26, my questions for that, the first questions that has been put to us about the is that the most supporting, continue to supporting departments that are failing, entities that are failing, and also the second one, Honorable Salani has just touched of the corrective measures have been implemented to address departmental understanding and poor budget execution. And then the other one is how does the Treasury ensure value for money and prevent repeat failure in infrastructure projects? And my other question is what specific support mechanisms are in place to help struggling municipalities improve financial management and service delivery? How is the budget aligned with local economic needs, especially for rural and informal economic? And also, what accountability mechanisms are in place to prevent corruption and political misuse of funds? So the monitoring, the honorable members, I think they've touched on it. And then also the loopholes that are just noted down is for the 2024-2025 second and third quarter performance report. The first report is on the 2024-2025 and the third quarter performance report of the Provincial Treasury. It reveals several critical loopholes and governance challenges that hinder effective public financial management and service. Firstly, it is the severe municipal debt accumulations. The municipalities in Limpopo are grappling with the escalating debt levels. As of the latest report, municipal consumers' debt surged by over 30 billion, bringing the total of 338.2 billion. Alarming. 91% of these debts is over 90 days, indicating a high likelihood of non-recovery. Notably, Mopani district accounts for 33% of this debt, amounting to 41946 billion. This situation poses significant liquidity risk and threatens the financial viability of these municipalities. The other loophole is the non-compliance with the MFMA reporting requirements. There are several municipalities that fail to comply with the Municipal Finance Management Act, particularly Section 71, which mandates monthly budget statements. For instance, municipalities such as Vembe, Mahalakwena, and Tabazimbi did not submit their debtors streams, while others like Greater Guyana and Waterberg failed to report amount owed to creditors. And this non-compliance hampers transparency and effective oversight. The other loopholes is in the insufficient use of financial consultants. Honorable members, they've also touched in that one, but I can just still continue. In an attempt to address capacity shortages, Limpopo municipalities have spent approximately 280 million on financial consultants. However, the Auditor General reported that over half of this expenditure was ineffective, with consultants failing to deliver the expected outcomes. For example, the Mogalakwena municipality allocated 44 million to consultants, yet received a third consecutive qualified audit opinion due to ongoing financial mismanagement. And also the irregular fruitless expenditure, where the province continues to incur significant irregular expenditure, primarily due to non-compliance with procurement legislation. In the 2022-2023 financial year, irregular expenditure amounted to 3.61 billion, with the Department of Education and Boards Agency in Limpopo, accounting for 93% of this total. Additionally, fruitless and wasteful expenditure remain a concern, with entities like Great North Transport contributing to these losses. And also underspending of conditional grants in the 2025-2026, despite the allocation of 43.7 billion in conditional grants of municipalities, only 63.5% had been transferred by the end of the third quarter. Crucially, key infrastructure grants, including the municipal infrastructure grants and the integrated urban development grants, exhibited spending rates below 50%, raising concern about the effective utilization of funds intended for critical service delivery projects. And then the last one is the lack of effective oversight and intervention. That despite the identification of these issues, there has been a lack of decisive action. For instance, the Tabazimbi municipality, which was under provincial administration due to financial mismanagement, continued to face challenges in service delivery and governance. And this indicates systemic weaknesses in oversight and the implementation of corrective measures. All this from that I just read from the 2024-2025, and the 2025-2026. I was just stating the loopholes that we encountered that, and I'm happy that honorable members have also alluded on that, showing that this thing are very serious, so that if maybe the Treasury can just assist to make sure that at least we deal with all the loopholes that we are encountering. So I don't want to go to the questions because I just wanted to highlight the loopholes. So most of the questions that I wanted to ask honorable members have been answered. Honorable Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. Treasurer. I had Honorable saying Treasurer, so because they are holding the pace of the province. Let me see.
Thank you. I would first request to allow the officials to respond, and I'll come in where there were certain specific questions, and we really appreciate the intensive manner that the committee has engaged our report, and this demonstrates once more the importance of this committee. And you have seen today how much they've been delved into the municipal finance sphere, which I believe will one day need a time of its own. It's the most critical. Once we fix there, I think the country will be better. But we have to spread ourselves. May I then request that I will not have we don't reach out to, and then I will come in.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. I'm with a team of colleagues here that are going to assist me to respond to some of the questions that have been raised. But let me try to respond to the ones that I think are relevant to my portfolio. So I think we have taken note of the relocation of regional offices, and without elaborating too much on that, because several members have raised the issue on it, and the presenter who presented everything to have requested that in the first quarter we must bring a full report. So I think the inputs that the members have shared with us here will assist us to say what kind of report must we come and table before the committee, so that it's indicative of all the costs, the challenges, and why it's not moving in terms of that progress. So I think the questions in relation to that will be covered in the total report. We'll make sure that we do a comprehensive report that members will be able to engage in and be able to take some decisions based on that chairperson. The issue that was raised by Honorable Simani in terms of the local procurement, what are we doing as Treasury? I must say here that we all know the Public Procurement Act has been enacted as a law. We are currently finalizing the regulations with National Treasury, especially to give effect to Chapter 4 of the Public Procurement Act in terms of the set-asides, because it's going to assist us in terms of making sure that all departments, they have the budget that they can set aside for all designated groups that we want to achieve, including the local content or the local procurement that we want to procure in that space. And in terms of the plan that we're having with National Treasury is that come the 1st of April next year, the regulations must come into effect. So that will assist us to make sure that all the targets and even the procurement policies that we do as province will make sure that we procure locally because it's in our interest. But in the current instance, Honorable Man, is that we have the Limpopo Provincial Strategy, which is also assisting departments to say, over and above the contracts that we don't have control over them, you do have a discretionary budget as department where you don't have a national contract, where you can make sure that when you go to the CSD, because in terms of the preferential procurement framework, you can put locality as one of your objectives that you want to achieve as a department. And therefore you select only the businesses that are operating in Limpopo to make sure that we are able to deal with the issue of the local content. But we have also engaged leader and leader to assist us as we go and build capacity, the SMMEs in Limpopo, to make sure that they are able to respond to government tenders when we call for that process. Because one of the challenges we realize is that they are unable to respond to government procurement because they don't understand how it works. So it's part of our routine to make sure that we deal with the SMMEs in the province and we give them the necessary support. The issue of the budget, I'm going to leave them to Mama Supermin to talk to it. The issues of municipalities, the CFO has been acting in that portfolio for a long time. He will be able to respond to the issues relating to the municipalities and the challenges and what have they seen in that space, and he will be able to respond to that. But I think the crucial issue that has been raised was the issue of that there is no budget with the APP. The PFMA allows that the expenditure that we must incur now, we can incur expenditure to 45% of the budget if the budget is not on the table. The question that we are struggling is that will the amount of the equitable share that we are having as a province sustain us until the budget will be tabled at national government. But the 45% that we have currently in terms of the equitable share is what we are currently banking on to be utilizing until the national dilemma has been resolved. So hopefully in that case, I believe we can reach August without having that clarity of thought and the cash flow projection from equitable share. We do have enough equitable share as a province to use currently in that space. So 45%, hopefully will take us until the result. You have raised a good issue in terms of the woolly goats in agriculture, Honorable Ngobeni, and I think it's an area that we have shown interest as Treasury when we as cattle in terms of the woolly cattle that they are borrowing to those people. Our interest was to get to understand the system that they are using and the tracking and even how they auctioning, but also in terms of how they report about those things in the asset register, because it's very important that we understand that whole cycle, how it goes. They have raised those challenges in terms of the system that is not available to assist to deal with those elements. But also what was crucial is that the monitoring is also a key element, because if you don't have the register that shows you have borrowed ticket, those it makes it very difficult to follow up in terms of this. That's why at the end they get reported being stolen and all those other elements. So we are currently assisting the department to make sure that we intervene in that space and be able to account for biological assets. And we were saying it's something that we must go and benchmark and see if there is a system in the country that other government departments are using to account for biological assets in that space, so that we are able to assist the department to account properly for those not necessarily winning cattle only, but for the totality of the biological assets into from the lifespan, when the asset, when they breed, how do we take care of those things, how do we bring them into the asset register, and how do we, when we auction them, how do we account for them? And we hope that will assist us to resolve the issue of the biological assets in agriculture. PAG will talk to the issues of the financial statement and the entities that has failed to submit the report as required, and how we are dealing with the matters. Dr. Silane raised the very important issue about why do we continue to appropriate funds to departments that are not performing. I'm tempted to leave it to my MC to respond.
Just to come in there. May I come in? The fact that is true for us. And in our budget speech, we did allude to the very PFMA, section 18, subsection 2, article G, says Provincial Treasury must intervene by taking appropriate steps, which may include the withholding of funds to address serious or persistent material breach of the PFMA. Material breach will be in the form of fruitless and wasteful in the main, not much with irregular expenditure and unauthorized. One of the APP targets that we have inserted is to strengthen our mechanism, because this is our first budget. We don't say we can't disqualify the past, but at least through you, because the ultimate arbiter is yourselves, because budgets are not allocated by us. We don't allocate money, we simply prepare the budget and then monitor it and provide evidence to the authorizing body, which is Parliament. And this is not nice. Recently, it has just demonstrated, and if you recall when I'm at that podium, I don't miss saying it, that the ultimate authority is yourself. Most of the time, the executive has been, okay, the tail has been working the door. And if you allow us to work the door, we are good at that, we'll do so. But now that you know your authority, that budgets, once it is put there in the legislature and you put an approval, the buck stops with you. Based on the evidence that the Act allows us as Treasury to provide technical oversight. We can't do oversight, we don't have that authority. We support oversight. And in this instance, we will definitely ensure that, at least for an example, those who managed to get it through because we did not implement the law in this very article I just mentioned, we will go there. And when we go there, it will be after meetings like this, when we present expenditure reports or in other instances or else when we get it even from the Auditor General. And that in this instance, when the next budget is going to be done, there will be a resolution coming from the House, emanating from this committee, coming from our technical information, which will then help with all. So it takes 2 to 10. And we are inviting the honorable members that given the history about it and what we have always paid lip service about, it is high time that maybe as Limpopo can set an example. And that will ensure that the power that the legislature plays over budgets with given evidence should make everyone understand the primacy of the legislature. Thank you.
Thanks, Honorable MEC. Just to add on the response of Honorable MEC to say, Dr. Slani, in terms of the regular expenditure, I must say, in the Limpopo province, we have in Treasury a committee that has been set to deal with the condonment of irregular expenditure. And I must say, before we could even condone that expenditure, we want proof that there was consequence management that has been taken by the said department before they could even submit to us for doing the condonment on irregular expenditures. And that process assists us to make sure that we hold people accountable in that space and making sure that we put measures in place to ensure that those recurrences don't recur again. And hopefully we are hoping that we may see the decrease in the irregular expenditures going forward, because we believe that the mechanisms we have put in place do assist some departments to take some precautionary measures.
I'm interested, and I apologize to interject, especially when women are presenting, because the acting HOD, she is very nice in terms of presentation, I can assure you. As I've already indicated that I don't think they lack capacity. Women in this department are blessed. But I've got a problem, because it seems as they've got what you call a system, an early warning system that is in place to detect this irregular expenditure and so forth. But sitting where I am, you can go to a committee of SCOPA or any other committee which is my worry. This act, annoying act, has been committed, and as a result, there is no consequence management to that effect, which was implemented either by all those departments or affected departments. And as a result, the financial year and financial what we call term end. And now we are at the time where we must reallocate another finance because of what we call financial year. And there are outstanding matters which I think we've identified as a result of these irregular, wasteful and so forth expenditures. And now no consequence management was undertaken by whatsoever department. We can see that the department are underspending. Service delivery became compromised. And in the next again financially, we are still going to reallocate them. And the reality of the matter is that even it means that those systems are not working. And what do we then do in that respect? If you are allowing me Chair to engage further in this thing, because reporting must not be about ticking the box for malicious compliance. We should be in a position to know whether the system that is there by Treasury, which is good, and when the account, I can assure you, Chair, that the system is good. We all believe that the system is good because they are able to detect And now, in this department, these are the offenses which have been committed and they were detected by Treasury. And now, no consequence management. And as a result, Treasury, again, this is the financial, and they will reallocate. In that scenario, how do we in actual fact deal with this, with this case? Because I've got a problem, especially when people are underspending and they do not in actual fact present the department well, but we continue to give them money. And even when they don't demonstrate what we call an improved capacity on their part. And that's my word to say, perhaps we need another alternative. When these people in actual fact they do not do this, this is what we are supposed to do in order to save the finance of this particular program. If their performance indicators, for example, are not in line with what in actual fact indicate as a treasure, what we do? Because we can't leave it the way it is. And Honorable Macro was right to say, now look where we are. We're speaking about that house, that the previous house, that it needs to be renovated so that 5 to 6 committees can sit in one day. And we are sitting here in a situation where the likelihood, all this financial, all this quarter report we might finish reporting, and in the next financial year, we will still have that problem that in actual fact we are encountered. And therefore the department return money to the provincial and national coffers, which is supposed to do something. Because my belief, Treasury should have that anything to say, hey, here, public works, they are not spending. How do they assist them so that they can spend that money without placing them to fail at the ultimate end? Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Chancellor. You'll help me with I don't know, you say these women are good or you say they're beautiful.
They are everything. They are good, Honorable Chair. They are beautiful. They are skilled. They are everything. You don't have a shot. In actual fact, in the next, I'm not saying, but in the next, whatever HOD, let it be a woman. Because women in this department, I think that's best.
No, thank you very much. We really appreciate how you take care of our. Thank you very much. And that was a big anyhow, thank you very much on a lighter note. Colleagues, I think you can take us through. I will now allow the department to present. If there's anything, please write it down. You want to make follow-up questions or at least additions, you can do so. No?
I didn't finish all the
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. That just please, you were just about to hand over to someone there to handle the other section of the questions raised. Can you continue? Yeah, continue. Ms. Tindis.
Thanks, Chair. Thanks, Honorable Chair. Just to say, I acknowledge what Dr. Chair said, and I think we must follow the suit. At National, if you are not spending on conditional grant, that's why what Honorable Mugaba was saying, they take the money from education, they give it to other provinces and so on. And I think that is what we will be trying to do in the adjustment budget. To say, if you see that you are not going to spend, because on monthly basis they submit in-year monitoring tool to us. If you see that you are not going to spend, release that money, let's take it to somewhere where it can be utilized, then we can give you that money in the next financial year as we do those trade-offs. But I think it's not making that impact that we want to see. But we will try to strengthen in that portfolio so that even when we report, we can come to this portfolio that we have taken money from this department to this department to make sure that we deal with those other issues. But I do agree and I accept the comments you have made. There was an issue about leader or leader and girl. Dr. Selan, I think the previous committees or even previous scope, they said we must not fund leader and girl because they are scheduled 3 in the organization because they must be self-sustainable. And I think Honorable Premier in the last meeting, she has said she has allowed us to give them the funding in the current financial year to make sure that they generate something that must work for the province. Because currently we are just funding the salaries in that space. And if they are not going to do anything visible, this house must make the final call on that because we had series of engagement even with the committee and the other executives to say how do we deal with leader and girl because there was that resolution that they must not be funded on the understanding that they need to be self-sustainable. And we will continue to monitor that. And I think Honorable Smiley wanted to understand, do they take our submissions as we say how they can turn around the department of those entities to be feasible. I think PhD will assist me as she's sitting in that committee that deals with the matter. The other issue is that the issue that was raised, I'm not going to talk to municipalities, let me leave them to the people that must deliver, especially for all the issues that relate to municipalities. The last one that I want to talk to Honorable Chair, the issues of the assessment that we are doing on provincial governments and entities in relation to assets, liabilities, and supply chain management. I think we have made a commitment that we must share those reports with the community at some stage so that we are able to see that maybe something that we haven't implemented, we will do that. There are serious concerns, Chair, that we do find when we do those assessments, and as a result of those assessments, I can say to this committee, in terms of education, we do have some concern in relation to asset management, especially given the issues that they are, the immovable assets that we must account for them, and hence we have also raised the matter even that we allow them to present the Excel spreadsheet asset register to the AG, because if they were to submit what we have in Bugis, they won't be able to do that. And that is because they go and do something in the system, but in the outside that something does not exist. And when we do asset verification, we found those discrepancies. So we do have some challenges in those spaces. The issues that you are raising in terms of the litigation is a big issue that we are also monitoring with the Department of Health in terms of their medical legal thing is something that is on our radar screen that we are monitoring. We're looking at the impact if it materializes. Would we have that money to cover for it as a province in that space? So we do have serious concern with those departments. Maybe going forward, Chair, we will make sure that we attach those reports as part of the submission to the committee to deal with those ones. Chair, with your permission, can I request my colleagues to just share those areas that I didn't cover? Mr. CFO, let me start with you and then PhD will follow the members on the budget matters. Thank you.
Thanks, good morning, Honorable Chair and Honorable members. It's afternoon.
I'm saying because Honorable Chair has been talking much of beauty. Now I'm going now for men now.
Oh, okay.
Sam, you can continue.
Thanks very much, Honorable Chair. I think one issue that was actually raised sharply by honorable members is around use of consultants by municipalities I think this issue was also raised in the Intergovernmental Forum, that it cannot be. This situation needs to actually change in municipalities. But however, the root cause why municipalities actually use consultants is actually as a result of lack of capacity in the budget and treasury office. What needs to happen in municipalities is that they need to appoint officials with requisite skills, especially in the CFO's office, so that then we begin to build that capacity, so that we'll be able to prepare the annual financial statements internally as municipalities. I must just indicate that there's actually at least a move now in some of the municipalities where these financial statements are now being prepared, internally, as opposed to them being prepared by consultants. But I think it's something that we just need to stress as and when we meet with these municipalities, that they need to appoint people with the requisite skills in the budget and treasury, in the budget and treasury office. With regard to a question on the Section 71 and Section 72, I must actually confirm that those reports are actually submitted. We actually had the media engagements with municipalities last year in November, just to assess their media performance. So the Section 72 reports are actually prepared, as well as the Section 71 reports are also being submitted by the municipalities. The last one submitted was as at the end of March. The ones for April are actually due by the 15th. In terms of assessing the budgets, whether they are funded or not funded, currently the unit that is responsible for municipal support is actually engaging with municipalities. They actually started with them. Currently, as we now, they're actually sitting in Mopani with those municipalities to actually assess their budgets, just to ensure that those budgets are actually funded before they're actually being tabled by council. I think I can pause there. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, Honorable Chairperson, Honorable Members, MEC, and all my colleagues. Let me start by talking to the issue of consequence management. Firstly, as a Limpopo province, we have developed a consequence management framework, which was approved by the Executive Council in the last financial year. And I can clearly indicate and demonstrate that as a provincial government, we are very serious in terms of implementing consequence management. And we have departments where interventions were implemented and eventually we are addressing the situation. And the same example will go to the Department of Public Works, Roads and Infrastructure, where we were guided through our portfolio committees and SCOPA to do an assessment of the Department of Public Works. We have done that, and the previous head of department was taken through consequence management. He was then seconded to Coxter, and then his contract lapsed. After that, we then appointed an acting HOD in that department as part of intervention and to bring systems into place. Through the Executive Council, again, the interventions, we were required to do follow-ups on the assessment of the Department of Public Works, because it's very key to our implementation of key programs in the province. Honorable Chairperson and members, I can assure you, in all our departments, and I'm just making an example of the Department of Public Works, as a treasurer, we then go and do detailed analysis and assessments to say what are the key drivers and interventions that we must then put in place. So this framework, it is crafted such that it holds the accounting officer and the honorable MEC accountable through the premier, and the MEC to hold the HOD accountable before we can go to the lower level officials. So that is how we crafted it, so that accountability can then be at the highest level in a particular department. Probably what we are noting with how the framework is working, it might seem to be very slow because we do a thorough assessment and identify the root causes. And by the time we redress, then probably the honorable members and the communities are becoming impatient. And that is what we have discussed in that committee to say we need to fast track the implementation of the interventions for support. However, we think we are reaping the rewards because I'm making public works as an example. You have the likes of your social development, when we do assessments and we then put interventions in place at the highest level. So we do take consequence management very serious as the Treasury and Office of the Premier. And per transaction, as we are talking about the regular expenditure, each transaction, whoever was responsible for that transgression will be held accountable. And we have been honest and clear to all the committees to say the legislation, when it comes to issues of consequence management and giving the sanction in this case, it's what is letting us down, and Dr. Selane will know better here, because we don't have the right to change the sanction. So when somebody has been subjected to a labor relations process and a sanction is given to say that it's a written warning, the accounting officer has got very limited power to change that particular sanction. And this is a task that the Office of the Premier, through the State Law Office, we are looking into in line with the consequence management framework to say it is not empowering us. You'll find in one department, an official is given a warning, another one is given 3 months without pay. So it's also creating those disparities. So there are loopholes, but issue of consequence management is taken very, very serious, and it's something that came through the committees. And when it comes to the budget, the Mama Sukame will then indicate, and I think Mike Chodi has indicated. From long time, what we have done, we do what we call a ring fencing of the allocations. And it therefore then means that that allocation cannot be moved if it's for compensation of employees. If it's a project, it's like a conditional grant allocated in the province. And in the previous financial year, we have allocated funds for example, MNSCZ. When we talk about programs that are going to give economic development in the province. However, because of those challenges that we had, that money was then withdrawn in the financial year, meaning that they had to surrender, even if they are a 3D. You would note that the 3Ds are not supposed to surrender funds. But because it was an earmarked allocation, they surrendered that money, it will be reallocated. Technically, what we are saying is, as a Treasury, through our bilaterals, we do quarterly bilaterals and adjustment bilaterals, we do implement the Section 18 as the Honorable MEC has read. Probably we implement it softly because we still come to the committee and indicate that through our engagement with the department, they are unable to spend on this particular item or they have these challenges. We are going to reallocate the funds. And they agree with us because we show them to say these are the reasons why we are proposing this decision. Let me also talk to the sustainability of the 3Ds. It is through our reports as a provincial treasurer that we brought to the committee to indicate that these are 3D entities who are supposed to be self-sustainable. We have challenges in terms of that particular issue. And through SCOPA, a decision was then taken to say we should not reallocate them for operational costs. And that decision was implemented over a period of 5 years. That was the resolution of the standing committee. It was done through a sliding scale. Until today where we are, where they are no longer allocated for operational, we only allocated for projects and also for the non-financial activities in LEADER. And hence now it's an issue because where I'm sitting even today, they might come to the committee. To be honest, Honorable Smiley, they might not be able to even pay salaries in LEADER because of the decision. And hence in the previous hearing, there was a requirement, and that is what we are working on now, to submit a report that will indicate and give financial indicators to say by when will they be sustainable, and looking at the model of the business in Leader and breaking it down into all the subsidiaries. That is where we are. We are having a workshop on the 19th and the 20th to prepare that report and bring it to the House. Because as it stands now, the Leader Group is not funded for operational costs due through that decision that was taken by the House. And those are the difficult decisions, and they even ask us which other provinces are doing this. We are the only province that is putting our foot down when it comes to accountability. And it's a painful one to know that they might not, like LCX, they're bringing LCX now to say LCX doesn't have money to pay salaries. But we say LCX is a portion of Leader. When you pay other people in Leaders, you must also pay LCX. You can't say I'm not going to pay only LCX salaries. But those are the reports that we are going to bring to the House. And through our Honorable MEC, provide for guidance from the House and be able to say what is the direction. Yes, our inputs are taken, Honorable Smart. The documents, when we prepare them, they take our input. However, implementation is a challenge. For example, you talk about in the strategies, we can even talk about GAL, wherein we said that they will bring AXA in, they do the assessments. It has been a year. There is slow movement, you know. So plans are good, but implementation is a challenge. And hence we find ourselves where we are. So we need to just work away on fast-tracking the implementation of the plans. On paper they are fine, but how we implement them and make them realize the intended objectives is a challenge. So we will still go back and refine in that workshop to say what are the things that are making bottlenecks in the implementation process to realize the revenues that are required in both Leader and GAL. GNT, yeah, GNT it's a challenge. Also, maybe let's also allow ourselves to submit a detailed report on GNT. And what makes GNT a serious challenge is that it received bailouts on similar cost items like your pension funds, Treasury bailing out, and they are back to square one again. So we need to just go back and understand what are the issues in GNT. And it's part of that workshop where we requested that they bring a detailed report and be honest. But from where we are sitting, the overheads are more than the revenue in GNT. And one of the areas that we have always requested, they are not increasing the fares in line with the market rates. We understand that it's a subsidized, but you can't run a business as a donation. You know, it will never be self-sustainable if they don't also increase the ticket rate fares and reduce the overheads and look at the entire procurement in terms of their day-to-day expenditure, and also assess each depot to say, is it a feasible business? Yeah. And you are aware now that a Department of Transport is finalizing the contract. They might not even qualify, hence they brought a proposal of listing of additional buses so that they qualify and be able to sustain the amount that they were receiving as a subsidy. So those are some of the issues that we are actually looking into in GNT. But through our MEC, the issues that require interventions, they will definitely be brought to his attention, and he will bring them to the committee in the House to say, these are the kinds of interventions that we are proposing the entity in this regard. Just a soft one was there, maybe to explain, it was just Q2 and Q3. With our public entities, we requested them to submit in Q1 the annual financial statements, which was for the other financial year. So actually that target overachieved. We did not actually underachieve overall for the year. we overachieved by about four of them. So in Q2, we did not do the assessment because we had already done them for the AFS. So it actually overachieved. Thank you, HOD.
You're welcome. Before you continue, I think we apologized at the beginning of the sitting due to mismanagement of time. We're supposed to start at 9, but we started at 10. We lost 1 hour. The budget of the MEC for other activities were somehow interrupted, but he made an early request that I'll sit with you until, and he just pardoned us. He said we must pardon him. You want to say something, Chair?
Chair, it should be your judgment. You just inform us as long as he has been here.
Thank you very much.
And the chair is here.
You are listening. I'm not going to elaborate. Is there another one that you want to hand over the acting HOD? Are you done? Was it the last one?
Honorable Chair, thanks. Member Sukamin was supposed to do the final one on the budget.
Member Sukamin?
Good afternoon, Honorable Chairperson and the members. With regard to the budget, I will start by the issue of the relocation of offices from the Luboko-Kukune district. And I want to make an affirmation to say, as Provincial Treasury, this is receiving attention as it has been endorsed by EXCO, and in the 2024 financial year, we have allocated the budget for the project for the to be completed in 2 financial years as per the request by and the bill of quantities by the Department of Public Works. And unfortunately, in the 24-25 financial year, they could not kickstart the project as a result of the land issues, and during the budget adjustment, they have surrendered the funds to the Provincial Treasury for reallocation in the 25-26 financial year. So we have since allocated the funds in the 25-26 financial year as well as in the 26-27 financial year, and according to the bill of quantity, they said it will require 24 million. In the first year, we have allocated 3 million as per their request, and in the second year, to finalize the project, we have allocated 24 million. So we are of the view that the project will be finalized, as they indicated that they have resolved already the land issues. And with regard to the issue of sustainability of the SOEs, already our MEC has indicated that the reasons why are we continuously allocating the funds to the SOEs, as the Provincial Treasury, we are preparing the budget and it's getting endorsed by EXCO and approved by the legislature. But I just want to highlight the issue more especially with regard to the Schedule 3D public entities, because every one of us, we know that they're supposed to be sustainable, and where they are, our 2 Schedule 3D public entities, they are not sustainable. But currently, the model that we are using to allocate the funds is as per the SCOPA resolution, which indicated that we can only allocate the funds to leader and GAL until the 25-26 financial year. This is the last financial year that we have allocated the funds. And I also want to indicate that the main reason, you will remember that the Schedule 3D public entities, they are existing for both the social responsibility as well as for the economic responsibility. And the decision to allocate, as per the presentation by the Provincial Treasury to SCOPA, it was to say, let's support the social responsibility, those projects that they are in leader and GAL, that they are unable to generate any revenues. But when we are sitting, like the PAG has indicated, we are having the technical committee that is being led by the Director General of the province, whereby we'll be monitoring the process, and as and when we are starting the 26 MTEC period, that is where we'll be able to understand as to whether we need to continue to allocate the funds. But that is not going to be the decision of the Provincial Treasury, but the Provincial Treasury will just do an assessment and present to all these various committees, including this portfolio committee. And then the other thing that I wanted to talk is with regard to, just to add on, why do we continue allocating funding to the underspending departments. But before I can even talk to it, I just want to indicate that we are making a stride in terms of spending the provincial budget. Like in the current 24-25 financial year, we managed to spend 98.2%, that is preliminary. And with regard to the conditional grant, in the past it was a very serious challenge, but where we are sitting in the 24-25 financial year, conditional grant has spent 99.3%. And as for the Department of Health, it's been spending 100% of the conditional grant. We've not, for the past 3 years, we were not surrendering anything to the national. The only challenge that we had in the 24-25 financial year, it was with regard to the education infrastructure grant, where we have lost around 187 million. And it's a concern to us because it is also affecting the service delivery. But we are having a forum whereby we are assisting the department to do the planning, because in the main, they have indicated the capacity challenges. So we had, I think around last week, we were having a forum just for the purpose of affirming the program of action for the infrastructure. And a concern was raised to say, in order to mitigate that, we need to integrate the capacity from the public works. They are having the infra engineers and so forth, and also as the Department of Health, we need to work together going forward just to make sure that we don't lose those revenues. And with regard to the other ones, for example, let me give an example of GAL, which surrendered around, I think it's 70 million during the budget adjustment for reallocation in the 25-26 financial year. And it's very much difficult for the provincial treasurer to say we are not reallocating the money back to the department, because as much as they didn't spend, we still need those service delivery issues. I'll also give an example of sanitation. If they didn't spend the money for sanitation, we cannot say we are keeping that money, because what is important for us is to assist them to come up with the feasible plans for the implementation. Withholding that money or keeping the money back or no longer allocating is going to also affect the service delivery. I think, let me end GPAG has talked to the issue of the GPAG.
Thank you so much. I think if there are few follow-ups,
I just would like to understand the capacity of Treasury, the unit that deals with overseeing the finances or the budgeting process of municipalities. How big is that unit? And how long does it take you to go with a budget process? You know, sitting with the institution. I'm just trying to think in my mind where they are in the budget, how quickly can it be done? Because I can guarantee you, Chairperson, 2 months from today, 3 months from today, we will pull out the Treasury report and I will tell you which municipalities were unfunded in the program. And they will be there. They will be there. Then I want to ask you, what did you do to make sure that it was, where's the numbers and why didn't it change? Chairperson, the second one, you know, the intervention or the turnaround strategy plans or the recommendations by Treasury to any entity is critical. Is critical for the survival or for the financial security of this province. It's because Treasury manages the risk profile of the province. And I would ask that Treasury submits a report to our portfolio where, if these strong recommendations are made but they're not being implemented. You mentioned a few things under leader, GAL, GNT. I mean, some serious ones without going into too much detail. But it requires what the MEC said earlier. The time has come that maybe strong resolutions are being made. And that resolution of Schedule 3D or 2 companies that must be self-sufficient is not a scope one. It's actually a legislature one, because that report gets tabled at the legislature, then it gets supported by the legislature at the end of the day. So although the recommendation comes from the one, it becomes the House's resolutions. And that's how I see it at the end of the day. And it's a serious one that one has got to hold on to. One of the other things that I do think of when we look at the risk profiles is, I know it was under the public administration portfolio, is the issue when we deal with the salaries of some of these, let's call it CEOs. And I know there's a Norman's Gazette, but it's issues that can be defined by our own regulations within. I mean, those people earn more than the president.
Yeah.
They earn more than the president. And if you earn more than the president, or even double what the president earns, and the company is not even self-reliant, who is not even turning a benefit into upskilling, spending, then I can question myself, why are we doing that? So when we talk about the risk profile, when we're talking about the reassessment, because that discussion, the acting HOD and members, next year when the budget, when we're pulling back funds, it's going to become a very hard discussion. And very few members are, we are fortunate to have a few doctors, we are fortunate to have a few accountants amongst us, but I mean to really truly understand a $1 billion rand budget doesn't sit in everybody's pants, and we must be honest and appreciated about that. And that's why sometimes the type of reports that you put forward, the type of reports that you want to generate, you say, this is how we see SOEs to be funded, or should be. Sometimes it means, I question myself, if you take 52% of RAL away, the functions of RAL, and you give it to public works, the whole maintenance budget, what is the purpose of that type of organic growth if 52% doesn't remain, but the funding model and the organic growth and everything remains the same, but tomorrow they do 52% less? Surely you must either then move people to public works, or you close the office and you make another office in public works. But I mean, those are discussions that one has got to have at Treasury, and these are the things that hopefully the members here will talk, we will think finance and not political outcomes, because there's a vote and there's this and then there's this. And I'm asking myself those things. When we went to, I was with public administration yesterday, this week on oversight at the MMSEZ. And if you think that 2 billion rand has been spent there, many of us has been there. And we pay a full board a salary at that given stage. I can say, yeah, you pay a board when you know the lights are on and everything is running and you've got a full complement of staff. Then I ask myself, but why do you want 60 people at that stage? You might want to end up at 60 people. But at the stage where we, and if you think of FTIZ, has got under 10 people, 6 people, then I'm asking myself, but couldn't you do the same work with the same people, save the same money? And what I'm trying to say is has the time come, Chairperson, to do a proper risk assessment on state-owned entities in the province by Treasury, and maybe coming up with strong resolution, maybe not you making the resolution, but you painting the pictures, and the people on this side of the table starting to make some strong recommendations. And my question will be, have you done such a risk assessment? If you haven't done, are you planning maybe such a risk assessment? And if you're not planning one, then of course it will maybe come as a resolution from this side. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Now I just through what Madam Mayor was presenting, identified a gap, especially with regard to the provincial consequence management framework, because it means that for us to fill that gap, we must revisit the framework. Because it can't be possible that somebody who's facing charges, whatever allegation that is leveled against him or her, this person is being seconded, you are taking a criminal to another initial fact department. So probably there is a need for us to toast that situation. Because it can. If the provincial consequence management framework, it speaks about implementation of consequence, and now in that scenario that she already indicated, this person is faced with charges and has been taken to another department. What does it mean? Because my understanding, we said that we are one government. The very same HOD, if he's seconded to another department, probably there is a need for something else to happen, because the person has just abdicated from his or her own responsibility on the basis of his or her secondment. And that framework, to a particular extent, yes, I agree that it has got what you call, in law they call it lacuna, loopholes. It shows some loopholes which I don't think that we can afford at this point in time. Because if that is being endorsed or confirmed by the executive, but we still have people who are moving around being seconded even when they are held liable, it's a problem. My appeal to finance, especially the strategic committee, is to revisit that particular consequence management framework. Because we will promote something that will not yield positive result in the future. Imagine now, this person is an HOD and is being charged. Consequence management need to be implemented on him or her, but this person is abdicating his responsibility by, I call it a, what you call, administrative syndicate, a gymnastic of some sort, where he's been protected by his fellow brothers, being seconded so that he cannot be held accountable in what you call, in that department that he has transgressed the law. So my argument that I want to put forward, HOD, is that let's revisit, because it creates problems. It will create more problems to this provincial government. Because when we speak about treasury, because we are dealing with transversal matters, it will affect badly on this particular provincial government. Because I don't want to ask a question, why this person who are supposed to be charged, consequence management is supposed to be implemented with, why is he being seconded? So there is a mafia syndicate of some sort. So for us to cap that scenario, it then means that your strategic committee must really look into, and the legal one, they must really look into that loophole, so that we don't find the very same act performed by the person happen in natural fact in other departments. So to me, if we want to leave it like that, what is the use of consequence management framework? And we all know, we can see, we've identified the loophole. But this is the loophole. It means that everyone, if for example, if you want to abdicate himself or herself from responsibility, will simply second him to Department of Agriculture, knowing very well that he has messed up in the public works. So, for us to assist this, it means that your legal, your strategic committee, they need to really look into this thing. They need to review the framework because things cannot continue the way it is. It's a good framework, by the way, that it shows that you are doing something as a department. You are against those that are transgressing the law. It shows good commitment. But this is a loophole. It's a loophole that we are all aware of. We have just identified it, but we cannot just leave as it is, regardless of whether this loophole or regardless as to whether that framework was adopted by the Executive Council. But there is a need for us to tell the situation so that we save the finance of this particular provincial government. And then something must be done to him. And we are just attending him. And I know, remember our politicians, because those are our friends. Because those are our comrades. We don't want them to be expelled or to be dealt with. And many of them, Honorable Chairperson, they run away from Department of COXA and local economic development. They are in these entities. If you go to SCOP, I had an opportunity for SCOP in the previous administration. You check the people who have transgressed the law, whom consequence management is supposed to deal with them. Many of them, they ran away, they went to these entities.
Yeah.
You know, and these are the criminals that are supposed to be dealt with. And you know why they are not being dealt with? Because they are friends that are politically connected to some of us. That is why they are not being dealt with. So, for us to save the situation, my proposal or recommendation, it will be to the department. To say, department, look, now, these are there. We have just adopted this framework. It went to the Executive Council. They are dealing with it, they have adopted it. Now, we have got a crime being committed by the HOD. Before we deal with that HOD, politicians have moved him to another department so that we are not focusing on him in the public works. And the very same department which he went in is the very same department which belongs to this particular provincial government, which that consequence management is not following. So that's why I'm saying I'm making that proposal. Let me review. It can be. We can't finish the whole year without reviewing that particular consequence management framework, because it has got serious lacuna. It has got serious loopholes that need to be filled so that we address the situation. Otherwise, we are going to leave criminals in public works. The next time when they steal money, then we are going to see them in leader. And that's the problem that we are having. Go to this SCZ that we are talking about. And I'm happy because the finance department or the treasury that transfer, it means that even with the funding of Messina Mahal, with the funding of Skukune, that also involved. So go and check how people stole money there for their own experience. And these people, now they have left there, now they have joined the municipalities. And nothing is being done. This is a good framework, but there's a serious lacuna. How do we then deal with it? Because we can't leave these things to be the way they are. So,
Thank you, Honorable. Honorable Matu?
Thanks very much, Chair. We really appreciate that there is a consequence management framework that the executive has adopted. Could we also be finished with it so that we can see the lacuna part that Honorable Sirani is talking about? You know, Chair, you know why you must make an observation. You know why most senior officials in public, in Treasury, they don't want to be seconded to departments if they are problem. Because they don't want their reputation is at stake. Because there's a lot of mess in those departments. That's why you all see them going there. They want to help from a distance, but for them to go there and be hands-on deck, they want. One, because we don't give them space to do their work. We want to micromanage them. Their treasures, they're not micromanaged because they're not tenders there. They feel comfortable. You must ask them, they must be honest with you. You must check the track record of treasury. You can't second them to departments, they don't want to go there. They'll rather second somebody from public works or from someone to go there because their integrity is at stake. And you can see treasury is recruiting the best of our province, but you will never see them going to departments. You must ask yourself the question. Therefore, it means we don't give them space to do their work. We are interfering with things that in German, so that is the problem. That's why you see treasury will be fine, but line departments will be a problem. Because when they are there, it's like the same thing that Honorable Smale said. I've been observing it, but I don't know how do you take that portion of RAL, to be honest, Honorable Smale? Let's be honest. It means 50% of people who are at RAL, they are working, they're getting the salary, they're doing nothing. And all expertise and experience that is there in RAL, you'll make them to start writing assignments and doing masters and honors, they've got free time. Or they'll be like what Premier Service does in Lindela. You know Lindela, as officials, they'll tell you. There is one office, a former sports arts and culture office, is the government building there in Krola Street. It's called the Lindela of the each and every official who's not needed in any department is done there. As the matter is the Premier's office. And people with expertise that we can distribute them to these entities, we have got capacity, we are dumping them there because we don't want them ourselves. Now, this is an issue that we should raise very sharply to say, personnel that is there in the Premier's office, some of them have been there for many years, and you don't know what they're doing now, but they're there in the lab. They know it what I'm talking about in the lab from last week. Now, the issue of risk assessment on all state entities, is an issue that Treasury will do, Chair. But if we don't have it's just like us as a portfolio committee. If they've done that, we must have a will to make sure that decisions and proposals of Treasury are enforced in those departments. If we come here and sit and be like an ordinary committee, we must be a committee of Treasury which is more than scope. That should be our responsibility. And if you don't do it, they'll come and present here and go, they say, that portfolio committee. It's nothing, that thing. Because these people, they've been there, they know their experience, their academics, they were experiencing from one guinea around here in Texas. Now, that is an issue that I'm speaking about. Let's say, for example, on public works capacity, you might start seeing it now. I don't know how are they handling it. Departments are starting to complain that public works doesn't have capacity, they want to build internal capacity. I can ask all of them here, they've been here for more than 10, 20 years. Departments used to have, let's say education, it used to have engineers and indoors, including health. But those things were rationalized and they went back to the Department of Public Works. But public works, it goes all out to get Mvula, to get GPSA, to get an issue that we have been raising, that how are you building capacity internally whereas you are taking projects out to Mvula and other private entities? It shows that there is lack of capacity. And have a look in terms of turnaround. They must tell us from Treasury's perspective, whether in terms of project, in terms of spending, are these particular entities like Umvula, like DPSA, like what, spending, or is it a javelin, you throw it there, you want to catch it this side? It can't. We must put our foot, the buck must stop somewhere. We can't continue allowing people to waste state resources. At this time of age of democracy for the 30 years, we don't have capacity within public works. But public works is running all projects of all departments. But departments are complaining. You are taking them to Vola, you are taking them to IDT, you are taking them to DPSA. It can be checked. I think the issue that when they do that assessment, they must tell us, including the issue, we can't just sit and lament on GMT. This is the we don't even care about the strike that our people did, and more than 30, 40 years working for GMT. You even die, you don't even get your pensions. And we're seeing GMT is going down the drain. And we're pumping money there. Huh? And even the type of buses they buy, I don't know how they buy buses, because I can take a GMT bus, put it here, put a bus here, Moria, I don't know what agreements do we have with the other bus of advantage, but other buses are buses. Ours are buses, but buses of buses. I don't understand them. Now, these are the things, Chair, that we need to do. And lastly, Chair, I don't Treasury was talking about financial and other things. Why do we agree on recycling of board members? There are some board members who are very special in this program. They move from one board to another, and you can't understand, Chair, because if I'm a board member in a particular field, I've got expertise in that field, I'll remain there and serve and move. But I serve in tourism. Tomorrow I serve in another board of a year. You can't be Mr. All-Rounder. It can be. It should be us as a portfolio committee questioning these things. But this board, are they doing value for money, or what is going on? The same thing as when we amalgamated leaders and other things and came up with leader. Are we saying that is value for money for problems of importance? Because that is an issue that has been there for us for many years. And if we talk about schedule 3D public entities that must be self-reliant, self-sustainable, or if we're not putting our foot down, it will take another 30 years. Us finding those 3D public entities forever. And as they said that it shouldn't be about the executive council saying no, let's fund them for now. The executive council is not their money. It's us as a portfolio committee representing the legislature, representing the people, that this thing of funding, this thing must come to a stop. We can't continue generating salaries for people whereas there is no value for money. I can't be an MP and be paid not coming to portfolio committee meetings. You must drop my salary. Why am I getting paid? Because I'm here, I must come to portfolio committee meetings. It's just like us. If it means that not attending the deduct 1,000, let it be. If you don't have a junior resident, you didn't go to a doctor, you are just sitting at home for nothing. Chair, I'm telling you, if we don't give strength and give backup to Treasury, they will continue on doing right things, lamenting, nobody helping. It's just like what Honorable Itzlani said. You can't. It must come, because what the issue be happening to be the department. I say we issue another department very, very quick about DTG. It can be. If a person has wronged, consequence management in terms of his framework and also issues of being checked, we must follow those due processes. Why are we doing things that the law doesn't allow us to do? I don't think we need to agree, Chair. We should put our foot down as a portfolio committee. This is when the buck stops. This is the 7th administration. You have said we will change the value, they must change over the employment. And when they start changing, they must change with us as members here to become very, very vigilant and sharp. Not even doing any favor to anybody. If you have wronged the people of Limpopo, you must face the consequences on your own. You didn't send you to go, it's still there. We gave you responsibility in employment. You stole money of people of Limpopo. You must face it alone. Don't say comrade one showing you but now I set up with my right. We are doing the right things. I think, Chair, that is the gist in terms of our responsibility. But let's give credit to the department where they do good. They come up with measures. Even if the measures are not implemented, it should be us who's helping them to implement those particular measures. You must ask them in my absence, Chair, the way they are handsome and beautiful, why are they not going to other departments? They will tell you.
Thank you very much. Colleagues, I think you got it. The simple question that was asked: why do you allocate money or appropriate money to an entity that is not performing year in, year out? What are you telling the people of Limpopo? What is it that was doing? GAL and GNT. You have the purse, but you put that purse into a drain. The consequence management, as it has been asked, that is it only applied in Limpopo? It's like when you are a traffic officer stops someone and does not have a driver's license, and you are asked, is it Limpopo that is asking driver's license? So we are not going to lapse our responsibilities because I'm sorry to say this, but it's a silly question to say, is it only applying in Limpopo? We are here for business. I think the honorable members have spoken, and I'm with them in everything, that we cannot, there's no way in which we cannot continue giving a division money. And the unfortunate part is that money is getting finished. What is finishing the money? Because I believe if I give you 10 rand to go and buy a tin of fish, two things should happen. You bring my 10 rand back, or you bring a tin of fish. So in this case, I don't think any of the two is coming back. And we are going to be very practical. Honorable members, I think we've been empowered even by legislation. I think that's yeah, and it's not time to smile when things are not good. The people of Limpopo are looking upon us to make sure that we give services to them. And one of the services to do is to make sure that we do the right thing. That is the resolution submitted. So, in the absence of the MEC, from your side, is there anything that you want to conclude so that we can move for the submissions made?
Thank you, Honorable Chair, and honorable members for the comments made. I think there is one question that we need to respond to in terms of how big is our municipal unit that is assisting in terms of how we deal with the municipal matters in the province. But I must submit to Honorable Smaga that we are currently reviewing the organizational structure. We want to make that the unit more capacitated to be able to support the 27 municipalities in the province, because currently we are more on financial matters and we want to zoom in terms of infrastructure. We want to zoom in terms of total portfolio. Currently, Mr. Mawal, how many We have 40.
40.
Yes, 40. That are doing all the 5 districts and the 27 municipalities that we are doing in the province. Through you, Chair, I've taken comments of the members the honorable members that they have made, and I want to say we might have a good framework which we will submit to the honorable house. The issue becomes the implementation, because we can put the framework into place, but the powers be might do other things in different ways. But we are subject to this house. We will submit it, as you are saying, taking some loopholes to assist us to build and to close those loopholes that we might have. But it's very crucial that we separate the document from the implementation, because implementation might be something else, whereas the document says something else. So that is the eye that I'm feeling, that let's look at it in that element. And we will deal, PAG will come and deal with the issue that Honorable Smale that has said on the assessment for SOEs. I think we need to do the totality of it, honorable members. And as you are sitting here to say, we need to look at this duplication of salaries. Why do you have leader that is having a board, but is also having some companies that are also having boards within themselves? So it might be a money generating scheme that we are doing as official, but it's something that we need to look at and more closely as we deal with the risk profile, and how do we save the little money that we have as a province to be focused to service delivery. For sure, those are the areas that we will look into, so that when we bring our recommendations to this house are fully informed by that process. The issue of public works capacity, Chair, is an issue that we have been discussing at our level, and most of the departments are not happy, more so that they are saying public works prioritize their own projects over their own projects that they need to implement. The other question is public works serving as a procurement agent, because they just take the projects and they go and procure other implementing agents to deliver on those matters. We have been tasked with the issue of developing an infrastructure procurement framework for the province that must assist all the infrastructure departments in the province. How do we deal with the matters concerning infrastructure in the province, and what structures must we build to assist us to implement capable states that must deliver in terms of infrastructure. PAG, please close the session from our side, and then we will hand over to the chairperson. Thank you, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. We just want to clarify, and I think my Treasury has captured it correctly, to say the framework and the implementation. But I just want to put members at ease in terms of the secondment part, so that it is clear. When you don't have proper charges against an official, you are still in the process of doing an assessment. Then you still need to make a call whether to leave that official where they are operating, because they will still have an impact in terms of what you are investigating, or to move them to another portfolio, or to take them home. So it's not like the framework says that you should second an official. But rather, when you implement, you then make that assessment to say, because now I don't actually have official charges against this official, I'm still investigating to come up with the charges. What do I do with this official? So that you don't confuse the two. Hence I was saying, while we are busy with the assessment of the department, what happens to the accounting officer? And in the example I made, the accounting officer was seconded to Costa, so that that person can earn a salary while working. and someone is put in place to close the gap and make sure that the investigation is undertaken free and fair. So I just want to make sure that that
Sure.
part is clear.
This probably warrants engagement further with madam when she's responding. Why I'm saying this, because it cannot be. You know, when a person is abdicating his responsibility, even in court, when they suspect you that there is a reasonable belief that you might flee the county, you can run away, you can abdicate from responsibility. When I was doing law, I think some years back there in church law, with Latin, what they call arrest suspectus quantum diffuga.
Yeah.
The Latin, it then means that that person, if we know their reasonable belief that he has committed a crime, they can't allow you to just leave. There are measures that are in place. So now I've just identified that lacuna in terms of the consequence management framework to say, hey, this is the guy. He has committed crime. And I know the danger of saying, no, that person must leave to Zimbabwe. You know the danger? Is that at some point we might even lose focus of whether investigating, we might lose focus of implementing consequence management and delay even not the trial, delay the processes of charging. And when I was saying that we need to review, it's only on that basis. Why do we have to allow that person that we reasonably believe that is the one who's responsible for this crime, Ramalesa Ramusakunda, to the other department? Because the reality is that that person, we might think other things rather than him. Because if that person is there, we know how this guy is eating the money. This guy is the one who's responsible for this and that. For us to keep the man, it means we should be serious about interrogating and so forth, not to second him. I know it's another process. That's why the consequence management in a loophole. The minute when the person moves, we not focus on other things. But also the question that might be posed is to what extent does the provincial treasurer or treasurer in terms of consequence management do to follow the culprit or the person who has been seconded? Because there are reasonable charge that have been pressed against him or her. I don't think that in my own view, we know for example, if I give an example, investigate no, you're not gonna ask a salary. So that's why I identify a serious loophole in terms of consequence management framework, because it does speaks nothing about that person, his movement, and so forth. Now, I don't say I'm responsible. Why do we have to push into someone? Technical. We will just want to focus on other things. Because there are many good examples of cases that in actual fact, if you go to Scopa, and madam, she sits there, very superior in terms of logic. She clarified people who are sitting in Scopa about a lot of cases of people who have transgressed the law. They ran away to leader, they ran away to gambling and so forth. These people were the chief of COPSA, chiefs of economic development. Even today, nothing has been done about those people. We even asked our board to say, no, why should this department write love letters? No, just know what suspended with a love letter. We disputed those love letters. If you remember, Honorable Mato, we disputed about those letters. So, this consequence management, that part of the reason why I'm agitating that it should be reviewed, so that we stop this thing of seconding people. You are seconding him for what? If what you do, remember that to all our we get they gave him a lot of responsibility to even eat more. That public works. But they want secondary someone to even eat more than what he ate, because he knows how to speak and he has got the protection from the politicians. So my argument is to say, hey, this is the good framework. Let's review it so that we keep this element of saying, no, if a person commits crime, we know that no, we are just doing it to follow, the law, so that sometimes if he's not found wanting, yes, we can reinstate him. We know that's pure English. Pure English. But the fact of the matter is that for the framework to bite, because we must not write a framework for the sake of writing. Treasury, our role is not just to distribute resources and monitor it, but it must have got a serious legal meaning. Legal meaning in which sense? The very same framework that we have developed, we must write our own means to control. If the framework I want to complaining about consequence management, we must use the law. We must use the law, Honorable Chair, to save the finance of this particular province. And by doing so, it means that we should also, the framework should also follow the people to the latter. In terms of human capital, will also assist them so that they can punish the perpetrator. That's my argument.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Were you almost done?
Yes, Honorable Chair, it's noted, and I think Honorable Slani, Dr. Slani is with us. Yeah, no. There's no way we're going to leave the perpetrators, Honorable Chair, whether in government, municipality, or entity. That's how far we go. On Honorable Smales one on the risk assessment, I just wanted to indicate that we did a reconfiguration of public entities in Limpopo, if you remember. That is the risk assessment one that we did. And we are, hence, even how leader is reconfigured, the LTA, so that is still there. That report is still there. Okay. What we may need to go is to go and look at which portions of that report are we not implementing. However, when it comes to the salaries, you would note that the JPME is busy with the public entity assessment through the Office of the Honorable President to reconfigure all the public entities in the country, and they are looking specifically also on the issues of salaries of officials in public entities and their reclassification. This project they are also doing the regional treasury. So I just want to add on that one to say, that part of the risk assessment that we've done that, we can just go back and look at what portions still need to be implemented. You remember last year we also approved the provincial equipment policy, responding to the question by Honorable Mato again to say, why do we recycle the board members? There is a policy. We need your support to go back and say, when they are appointed, did they follow the policy? Even the remuneration policy for our board members, we have a policy as Limpopo. So those principles and guidelines are in place. What is left, and I like the way you put it, we need your support to implement, especially our shareholder departments, to make sure that they do the right thing, because we just come and monitor after they have appointed. But when they are following the processes, they should be the one that make sure that they put systems in place. I think those are the 2-3 issues I wanted to flag. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Just like to appreciate the receiving your presentations and how you clarify some of the issues, but the submissions have been made. I think they are well noted. would request honorable members to retain for 2 minutes, and then I will release our meeting for now. Oh, you said during my spare time.
Yeah, you are husband.
I will ask